help me, how does a psychiatrist interact with a neurologist? Like you said, Freud was actually a neurologist to start with. I think there's a lot of commonality between psychiatry and neurology. Do your colleagues in neurology feel the same way, or is that where the controversy is?
You know, I think the sad thing was psychiatry and neurology got divorced a long time ago, and that was a mistake because most psychiatric problems are in fact brain problems. In fact, I'm working on a new project called The End of Mental Illness because, quite frankly, I hate the term mental illness. It's stigmatizing, it stains people, and it's basically the wrong paradigm. So no one wants to see a psychiatrist, no one wants to be labeled as defective or crazy or abnormal, but everybody wants a better brain. So what if mental health was really brain health? And if we reimagined it, we wouldn't be engaging in brain healthy habits. So get this, brand new study out of Australia, 2 remote islands. One has fast food on it, one does not have fast food on it. The island with fast food had lower omega-3 levels in their blood, so their omega-3 index was significantly lower, and the level of depression was 4 times. So food matters. But we weren't taught as psychiatrists anything about food. It was only when I started looking at, well, how do I make brains better, that I came to the idea, well, you got to get your food right, because if your food's not right, the physical organ, your brain, is not going to be right. So it literally began to transform all of my thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, when I had Dr. Perlmutter on, his point, which is well taken, is there is no cure for Alzheimer's, period. There is no treatment for Alzheimer's. But it is a almost completely preventable disease. As I agree with you, a huge amount of mental health is probably preventable with, diet and lifestyle. So take me through, how do you take someone who wants to have the best brain possible? Give me some action steps so people listening to us or watching us say, okay, I'm going to take this away and I'm going to feel my brain's going to feel better fast. What can I do?
So in Feel Better Fast, I have this mnemonic I like, Brain Excel, and it is basically the program we use here at Amen Clinic. So the first thing you do is you get your brain right, because when your brain works right, you work right, and when it doesn't, you don't. And there are actually nearly 100 tiny habits. So what's the smallest thing you can do today that will make the biggest difference? And the tiny habit for brain health, 3 seconds, is before you go and do something, you just ask yourself this question: is this good for my brain or bad for it? And then you just have to know the lists, right? Alcohol, it's not a health food, right? It drops brain function, and people who drink every day have a smaller brain. There's a study out of Johns Hopkins. And when it comes to the brain, it's the only organ where size matters. Exercise is good. Vegetables, especially colorful vegetables, are good. Omega-3 fatty acids are good. Oranges are great. Orange juice, it's bad because it's unwrapped fructose and it's way too much sugar, which turns out to be pro-inflammatory for you. So if you know the list, that becomes really important. So we talk about how to get your brain right, how to get your mind right. So the R in Brain Excel is your rational mind, and you can train that to help you. For most people, it hurts them. And so the tiny habit, whenever you feel mad or sad or nervous or out of control, write down what you're thinking. Ask yourself if it's true. So I teach people how to kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that steal your happiness. And another tiny habit I love is start every day with today is going to be a great day. Because if you do that, you begin to train your mind to look for what's right rather than what's wrong. And then you end the day with what went well today. And research has shown in 3 weeks that will just increase your level of happiness. Those two very tiny habits will increase your level of happiness. Yes, you can take Prozac, but it's got all sorts of side effects. And once you start it, you can't stop it. You know, once you start, today is going to be a great day. You're not going to want to stop it. The A in Brain Excel is attachments. You know, it's just the thing. Our relationships, when they're good, they make us super happy. And when they're bad, sometimes they make you want to kill yourself. And so I teach people after 40 years of being a psychiatrist, well, what are the most important things? And I teach them to go, okay, what's your goal in your relationship? So mine with my wife is very clear. I want to have a kind, caring, loving, supportive, passionate relationship with Tana, but I don't always feel that way. So I always want it, but I don't always feel that way. So if I'm going to engage my frontal lobes, I ask myself, does my behavior get me what I want? So if I have this rude thought that just popped into my head, well, does that help me or does it hurt me? So attachments are really important. There's a scientific process of forgiveness that I include in the book that's just so special. I is inspiration. We're basically wearing out our pleasure centers in this company in our country with our gadgets and social media. And I try to get people in touch with what's passionate and purposeful for them because it actually will push on your pleasure centers in a positive way. N is nutrition. X is the X factor. What are the big lessons we've learned from imaging? We have a database now of 150,000 scans on people from 120 countries. So yes, my colleagues think it's controversial, but literally people from all over the world seek out our help, especially if what they've done has failed. So that's typically we see treatment-resistant people, and we publish our outcomes. We have better outcomes than anybody in psychiatry because we look at what we do before we do it. And then the last one is my favorite part of the book. It's love. You do the right thing not because you should. Nobody does that, right? God said you shouldn't go to the tree. The next scene, Adam and Eve are at the tree. Right? No, it's like you do the right thing because you get to stay in the garden. You do the right thing because you love yourself, your wife, your husband, your kids, your mission. You never do it because you should. Doing the right thing is never hard. Being sick, you know this. Being sick is hard. Making good decisions to optimize your health is ultimately about love. And it's not just about you. It's literally about generations of you. Now we know it's not really genetics, it's epigenetics, that your habits turn on or off certain genes. They make illness more or less likely. Yes, in you, but also in your babies and your grandbabies.
It's scary how much we now understand it's not our genes. It really isn't. Genes have very little to do about all this. It's the imprint on those genes from epigenetics, from food, from lifestyle, that's going to make all the difference. Speaking of making the difference, give me your thoughts about sleep. How important is it? How impactful is it on our mental health and also on preventing dementia and memory loss?
So In Feel Better Fast and Memory Rescue, I talk about this one idea. If you want to keep your brain healthy or rescue it if it's headed to the dark place, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors. And I have a mnemonic I love called Bright Minds. And so B is for blood flow, and R is retirement and aging, and I is inflammation, and the S is sleep. Because what I've seen is people who get less than 7 hours of sleep at night have lower overall blood flow to their brain, which means more bad decisions. People who have sleep apnea, they snore loudly, they stop breathing at night, their brain actually looks like they have early Alzheimer's disease. It begins to kill the tissue in their parietal lobes, top back part of the brain, which is one of the first areas that dies in Alzheimer's disease. And then new research has shown that when you sleep, your brain cleans or washes itself. It's basically cleaning up the amyloid plaques that are building up in the brain. And so making it a priority is critical. And in 1900, on average, Americans got 9 hours of sleep at night. Now in 2018, they got 6.5 hours of sleep at night. You can't go through that kind of radical change in such a short period of evolutionary history and it not have a negative impact on our well-being. Children who average 1 less hour of sleep at night have a higher incidence of suicide. So we need to be more thoughtful and make sleep a priority in our lives.